John Lennon's assassination on December 8, 1980, was one of the most shocking events of the 20th century. As a former member of the Beatles and a global peace activist, his death sent shockwaves around the world and marked the end of an era for many music fans and cultural observers. The grief was immediate and widespread, touching millions who had never met him but felt they knew him through his music. It was a brutal reminder that even those who preach peace are not safe from violence. Born in Liverpool, England, in 1940, John Lennon rose to fame as a founding member of the Beatles. He was known for his songwriting partnership with Paul McCartney, and later for his solo career, activism, and outspokenness on political issues, including the Vietnam War and nuclear disarmament. His rebellious nature and sharp wit helped define a generation's countercultural values. Lennon's words and melodies helped transform pop music into a serious art form. By the late 1970s, Lennon was living in New York City with his wife Yoko Ono and their son Sean. He enjoyed a relatively private life at the Dakota Apartments, near Central Park, where fans often gathered outside hoping to see him. He considered New York his home and felt a sense of freedom there that he hadn't experienced in the UK. The city's creative energy matched his own, offering anonymity and inspiration. After a 5-year hiatus from the music industry to raise his son, Lennon had just released a new album, Double Fantasy, in November 1980. The album signaled his return to music and was seen as the beginning of a new chapter in his career. He expressed renewed passion for life, love, and creativity in his final interviews. Critics initially gave mixed reviews, but the album would later be recognized as a powerful farewell. Mark David Chapman, a 25-year-old from Hawaii, became obsessed with Lennon. While initially a fan, he grew disillusioned with Lennon's lifestyle, perceiving it as hypocritical, especially Lennon's wealth juxtaposed with his messages of peace and love. Chapman's fixation on celebrity and contradiction would become central to his motivations. He began viewing Lennon not as a man, but as a symbol to destroy. Chapman suffered from significant mental health issues, including depression and delusions. He reportedly heard voices and identified strongly with the character Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye, believing Lennon to be a phony. His inner world was marked by paranoia, rage, and a growing desire for infamy. His mental spiral went largely unnoticed by those around him. Chapman flew to New York in early December 1980, carrying a .38 caliber revolver. He spent days stalking Lennon outside the Dakota, even interacting with fans. He observed Lennon's daily routines, waiting for the right moment to act on his deadly plan. He had already decided that killing Lennon would give his life a twisted meaning. On the morning of December 8th, Lennon gave an interview to Rolling Stone magazine and later attended a recording session with Yoko Ono. Throughout the day, Chapman waited outside the Dakota, clutching a copy of The Catcher in the Rye. The day passed in eerie normalcy, masking the horror that would soon unfold. Chapman even chatted with other fans who had no idea of his intentions. Earlier that day, Chapman had approached Lennon and asked for an autograph on a copy of Double Fantasy. Lennon obliged, unaware that the same man would later end his life. The moment was captured in a haunting photograph that has since become iconic. Lennon's kindness in that moment only deepens the tragedy. At around 10:50 p.m., as Lennon and Ono returned to the Dakota, Chapman stepped out of the shadows and fired 5 shots. 4 of them struck Lennon in the back and shoulder. The attack was swift, brutal, and utterly senseless. The sound of gunfire echoed through the quiet Manhattan street. Ono screamed in horror as her husband fell. She called for help, and doorman Jose Perdomo tried to disarm Chapman, who had already put the gun down and waited for police to arrive, reading from The Catcher in the Rye. The surreal nature of his calmness added to the tragedy's horror. He later said he felt no emotion as he pulled the trigger. Lennon was rushed to Roosevelt Hospital in a police car, as paramedics feared he wouldn't survive the wait for an ambulance. Despite efforts to save him, he was pronounced dead at 11:15 p.m. Hospital staff later described the wounds as unsurvivable. Yoko Ono, in shock, requested the news not be made public until she had told their son. The news broke on national television, most memorably during a Monday night football broadcast. Sportscaster Howard Cosell informed millions of Americans that Lennon had died, sparking immediate mourning across the globe. For many, the announcement marked the end of innocence. That night, countless fans cried themselves to sleep. The media descended on the Dakota, hospitals, and police stations. Fans flooded the area, holding vigils, lighting candles, and singing Lennon songs. The streets of New York filled with sobs and tributes, creating an impromptu memorial. Reporters broadcast live as people openly wept in the cold night. Chapman did not flee the scene. He calmly read his book until police arrived and arrested him without resistance. His demeanor was unnerving, quiet, unrepentant, and eerily disconnected. He told officers, "I acted alone," offering no remorse. Chapman underwent extensive psychiatric evaluation. Although he was found to be mentally ill, he was deemed competent to stand trial. His doctors concluded that he was legally sane, though deeply disturbed. He was fully aware of what he had done, and why. In August 1981, Chapman was sentenced to 20 years to life in prison. He has remained incarcerated ever since, repeatedly denied parole. Each hearing reignites public debate over whether he should ever be released. His name remains a symbol of betrayal and madness. Lennon's assassination had a profound cultural impact. He was mourned by millions as a symbol of peace and creativity. The abrupt loss of such an influential figure left a cultural void that still resonates. The world lost not just a musician, but a visionary. Spontaneous memorials appeared around the world. In New York, thousands gathered in Central Park and outside the Dakota. Across continents, fans held candlelight vigils in Lennon's honor. From Tokyo to London, his songs played as tears fell. Lennon's legacy as a peace activist only grew after his death. Songs like Imagine became anthems for nonviolence, and his influence is still felt in political and cultural movements advocating for social justice. His message was revived with new urgency. His life became a beacon against hatred. Yoko Ono became the steward of Lennon's legacy. She oversaw the release of posthumous albums, managed his estate, and created the Strawberry Fields Memorial in Central Park, near the Dakota. She transformed grief into tribute. The memorial reads simply, "Imagine." Lennon's assassination led to increased awareness of the security risks faced by celebrities. Some stars tightened personal security, while others became more reclusive out of fear. Fame now carried a darker shadow. Trust between public figures and fans was forever altered. The killing reignited debates around gun control in the United States. Lennon's death, like other high-profile shootings, highlighted the dangers of firearm accessibility and mental illness. It intensified calls for reform in both areas. Advocacy groups used his death as a rallying cry. Chapman later admitted he wanted fame and hoped to gain notoriety by killing Lennon. The case prompted discussions about the toxic intersection of mental illness, celebrity culture, and media obsession. His infamy became a dark mirror to Lennon's celebrated legacy. He remains a disturbing case study in obsession. Lennon's death has been referenced in films, songs, and literature. From U2's Pride in the Name of Love to the film Chapter 27, the event has left a lasting imprint on popular culture. Artists continue to reflect on his loss in their work. His story is often used to illustrate senseless violence. Decades later, Chapman remains in prison. Each parole hearing revives debate over justice, forgiveness, and public safety. Victim impact statements by Ono consistently oppose his release. Chapman has expressed regret, but many see it as too little, too late. John Lennon's assassination was more than a celebrity murder. It was a cultural trauma. His life and death remain symbolic of an era's dreams and disillusionments. More than 40 years later, his music still speaks to our longing for peace, love, and understanding. Lennon's absence is still profoundly felt by the world he tried to change.